The last two episodes of Volume 8 could quite possibly be some of the most intense and significant episodes of the entire RWBY series thus far, depending on how things play out. So there's a couple things I want to discuss before we actually get there, which unfortunately means I will have to say spoiler warnings for those who have not seen episode 12 of RWBY Volume 8, as I will be discussing some of the events of that episode that would largely spoil the episode as a whole. So just a fair warning on that one. Now, after the events of episode 12, there is one question very prominent on everyone's mind. Who is going to fall? Now that this in-between realm has been set up by Ambrosius, the spirit of creation, to allow the people of Atlas and Mantle to follow the yellow brick road to Vacuo and escape from the city of Atlas falling down upon them all and, wiping out the entire population of the kingdom, most likely, well, they were given one dire warning before ever setting foot through that portal. Do not fall. Which of course means that someone, at least one person, is going to fall off of these platforms. With all of the people in Atlas and Mantle coming together in this one enclosed space, including all of our protagonists, all of the trained huntsmen and huntresses that are part of the Atlas military, all of the military soldiers, as well as, our villains, Cinder, Neo, Watts, and presumably Salem as well. In this enclosed space, people should be getting knocked off left, right, and center if a fight breaks out, because these platforms, they don't exactly have railings and aren't exactly that wide, so I have a feeling a few people are going to fall. But who ends up falling out of, our main cast largely depends on what happens when someone falls. Because right now, we don't know what would happen. The most likeliest scenario, and the one that I think is going to happen in my mind, is that it would be equivalent to a death sentence, but also worse, because it wouldn't be instantaneous. There is no bottom to this realm. If you fell off of these platforms, you would be falling for eternity, or presumably until you either starved to death, ran out of oxygen, or not a good fate any which way you slice it. But it wouldn't be instantaneous, and once something else was created with the Relic of Creation, well, this realm would cease to exist along with anyone trapped within it. So that's the most likely scenario I think would happen, and if someone does fall off of this platform, unless they can fly, well, there would be no way for them to recover. So if Cinder was to fall or Salem was to fall, then they could probably hop back up onto the platform and escape out the exit before someone else created anything with the Relic of Creation, etc. And I find it highly unlikely that the Relic of Creation itself could be used to rescue someone, because if they tried to create anything else, the realm would disappear, so, I don't think there would be any way to rescue anyone that falls off of these platforms. And meaning, if it is pretty much a death sentence, then the characters that are going to die will likely die through this fashion, or just simply in combat against Cinder and Salem, etc. But considering it's been hinted at already that Ironwood would take the fall, this is going to be the perfect opportunity. Now that his aura was broken last episode, his semblance was deactivated, and his focus on that mission to raise Atlas to the sky, get the Relic of Creation, well, it'll be broken. Not to mention, that mission is kind of a moot point now that Atlas is falling out of the sky and the Relic has already been removed from the vault, so maybe he'll come to his senses and try to atone by sacrificing himself. And with this potentially eternal suffering that he's going to be subjecting himself to, he'll find that to be his atonement, at least until the realm disappears and he is released, possibly. Or it could be just an eternal prison, a good place to trap Salem, perhaps, but with her magic and other things at play, she might be able to escape that eventually, though it might be a good way to bide time. But there is also another option that I've heard thrown around a couple times already, that since this realm is outside of the space and likely outside of the time of Remnant, falling off of this platform would be like falling through the world, like the fairy tale that has been hinted at already a couple times throughout this volume. The girl who fell through the world, falling through Remnant and entering an alternate world. But after her experiences there, returning to Remnant, she was saddened because she was no longer the same person that set out on the journey in the first place. And if that's the case, that falling off of these platforms is going to transport someone through time and space and show them experiences and stories of things from Remnant's past, then, Well, the Volume 8 opening might be a good hint that all of Team RWBY might end up falling off of this platform and experience something from the past. In the Volume 8 opening, we see all of Team RWBY falling into darkness, reaching out for the Relic of Creation, only to have grim arms pull them backwards. And considering this realm is all darkness except something created by the Relic of Creation, could be very symbolic for the Volume 8 opening. And I've also seen it suggested a few times already that Volume 9 is going to be a bit of a gap volume for the current timeline of RWBY. That instead we are going to go back in time and see some past events in Remnant, in particular Team Stark's timeline. The story surrounding Team Stark and what happened to Summer Rose, which I am really hoping happens, that we have Volume 9 be focused on that story. It's been something that, well, has been hinted at the past 2 volumes, you know, Summer Rose, her name being dropped here and there, as well as something a lot of fans have been waiting for a very long time, and I would love to have an entire volume focused on that story. It would give us, you know, the necessary context for everything that's going to happen in Vacuo, and a nice little break from everything that just happened in Atlas. But I think the best way to do that would be either through using the last question of the Relic of Knowledge, asking Jin something like, what happened to Summer Rose, and then the beginning of Volume 9 would start with Jin's story of Team Stark, leading to what eventually happened to Summer Rose when she finally came face to face with Salem. That would be a nice long story to take place, would fit within the RWBY universe, give everyone the necessary context who is there to listen to Jin's story, etc. Or I'd be fine with just Volume 9 starting out with that story after Team RWBY has just arrived in Vacuo, just giving that break, and we would know the context as the viewers, but the people in the universe wouldn't. Like Team RWBY and Team Juniper, etc. They wouldn't know the context, only to be revealed to them later, but it would make sense to us, the viewers, of things that are taking place, perhaps on Salem's end, or other things that are happening in Vacuo, things like that. I would prefer it be one of those 2 scenarios, rather than having to deal with the issues that would come with, well, falling off of this platform and traveling through space and time. The first of which being, how exactly would they end up at that exact point in time? Because I don't think there would be any way to pinpoint that. To get to that exact point in time, they would presumably have to live through the entire history of Remnant before that, which would definitely change a person. You know, the girl who fell through the world was very much changed when she came back after that journey, and experiencing all of the history of Remnant would certainly overload someone, most likely, and frankly just seeing Team Stark's story would change RWBY in particular, finding out what happened to her mother and Yang as well, so there's a lot that could just happen with that singular story, but still, pinpointing that exact point in time, it would be difficult. And then there's also the kind of part that doesn't really fit, that it was a creation from the Relic of Creation that bestowed knowledge upon someone. It seems like it's kind of overlapping abilities at that point. If something from the Relic of Creation did what the Relic of Knowledge is supposed to do, and what I mentioned previously, if they fell off the platform, how would they then get out of this realm? The Relic of Knowledge, not going to be able to help them there. The magic from Salem or Cinder might be able to help in that regard if they are able to interfere with the realm of the vaults in some way, shape, or form. The maidens are used to open the door to the vaults, so perhaps a maiden such as Penny or Cinder or Salem using her magic could force open a door in some way, shape, or form, and that could work. And that could possibly help them pinpoint a place in time, but I feel like that would need a little bit of a workaround. The Relic of Creation I don't think can be used itself to help someone escape. If, you know, Penny and Team RWBY fell with the Relic and tried to use that to escape after everyone else had exited a Vacuo, I don't think that would work, because the realm itself would disappear, so there's just a few things that would need to fit in place and be explained for this scenario to work out. Plus, then, if Team Stark's story and what happened to Summer Rose is used in this scenario, then what is the last question for Jin going to be used on? That is another question for, well, later in RWBY, if the last question isn't used within these next couple episodes. So just a few things I wanted to discuss with this realm and how everything would work, what exactly would happen if they fell off the platform, because if it was that simple, or if it is that simple to escape from that realm, that they would just either need to use the Maiden's powers or magic or something like that, then I don't think it would have been referred to as a dire warning by Ambrosius. That is something that shouldn't be so easily escapable, especially since Penny was right there in front of him. He might have been able to hint that, well, Penny might be able to escape or something like that. I don't think that there is a reasonable way that they can escape from this realm. So in my mind, I think the most logical way that this realm is going to work, anyone who falls off the platform is pretty much going to be written off the show in general. But I could see a way in which people falling off the platform do see some other point in time and are bestowed this other knowledge of past history. But still, it'll need a little bit of working, and I'm really excited to see what is to come in these last 2 episodes. But let me know your thoughts down in the comments below. What do you guys think is going to happen in this realm that is structured like the vaults, or using the vaults as an example? This dire warning, do you think that it is essentially a death sentence falling off of these platforms? Or do you think that this could transport someone to a different world, quote-unquote, or the past version of Remnant, to relive the history of Team Stark or other moments in Remnant's past that would change a person upon their return to Remnant? And if you do think that's the case, how do you think that Team RWBY, or whoever it was that falls, would be able to return to Remnant? And one last thing I also want to point out, and I hate that this is the case, but I feel like Penny is going to be one of the ones who falls as well, because she has not adjusted to her human body yet. And the body that she has lived in for the past months, year, however long it has been since she was upgraded to Penny 2.0 and gained the ability to fly, well, that's something she's done without really thinking about. Now that she's got her human legs, if she tries to jump off of that platform to fly over to a different part of the platform or something like that, she's going to jump in the air, realize she can't fly, and then fall. And I feel like that might be the case, and I really hope it's not, because Penny just became a real girl. We just got Penny back last volume. It's too soon to lose her yet, but it's still a possibility. So with that being said, let me know your thoughts down in the comments below. Hopefully you guys enjoyed this video, got you thinking a bit more about the events to come in Volume 8. And if you guys want to see more like this, more RWBY theories, RWBY analysis, RWBY videos in general, make sure to subscribe and join the Guild of the Eternal Flame. Tweet me at Phoenix Knight 7, and I'll see you guys in the next video.